What's going on? It's not playing, Chris.
It's not. How's it going, everybody? This is Chris from VA Claims, Veterans Helping Veterans. Welcome to our live Q&A. We're all repping our team jerseys or
Not
team
in
colors today. We got the usual cast of characters. I'm repping the Steelers. Our administrators repping those Redskins, the Commanders. We got Jackie over there representing the Patriots, and Blake, who's only the one with the dog in the fight, he is repping those KC Chiefs. So let's we'll all cheer for them this weekend, I guess. So welcome, guys.
Not this weekend.
No,
we got one more.
we don't want. No, don't want Stephanie. She picks the losers.
I did that as reverse psychology. Did it work?
No.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Because the Eagles and the Chiefs are in. What can I say? Right? All right, everybody. Welcome again to another live Q&A. Go ahead and start dropping your questions into the comments so that Chris can get them ready for us to ask. While we're getting everybody to join, just kind of, again, we're going to kind of introduce ourselves. I'm Stephanie, my husband, Chris. We're both here in Florida, just outside of Punta Gorda. We're both veterans, Navy, Chris, Marines. Jackie, you want to give a little bit of you, and then Blake? Yeah, Marines, whatever.
Yeah, so I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I live in Tampa Bay. Yeah, there you go. That's enough.
Blake?
The only smart one here, Army, and I live in Kansas City, the home of Mahomes.
Yeah, whatever. All right. So before we get started with the questions, wanted to show you guys something pretty cool. I've already put out a quick little short video on this on our YouTube channel. So just recently, you're now able to actually get all your claim and appeal letters right from va.gov. I know some people are saying they can't. Some people are saying they can. So I guess it's kind of just catching up. But I want to show you, I'm in actually mine. So if you are at the main va.gov page, you're going to want to go right here and click on check your claims or appeal status. You're going to sign in. You're going to do all the 2 steps to get in. Once you're in, it's going to take you to this screen here. And you're going to go to this screen, which is going to start showing you all your claims and appeals. So I've got quite a few, but we're going to go ahead right here. I'm going to click view details. Okay. And then from here, it's going to allow us to now download that claim letter that's associated to either that claim or to that appeal, if it decides it wants to hurry up here. So we'll give it, there we go. This is new, guys. This was not here. So it's kind of cool now. So you don't have to call the 800 number. If you don't get it, email. So what you do is you click it. And here's all the letters. And then you would just click it, and then you would download it, and you would save it. And now the question is, when do these show up? I'm thinking they probably show up a few, maybe 7 to 10 days after the decision. But I thought I want to show you guys that. I thought that was pretty interesting. Like I said, I've got a short video on it, how to kind of get you guys back onto that. But it's pretty cool, I think, right?
Yeah, I already dropped that link in the comments to that short.
Yeah. So I know we're starting to get people on, and everybody's kind of telling them where they are. And welcome, everybody. Howdy from Matt. Yep. Hi, Matt. Welcome back. We appreciate it. So do we have some questions? Oh, Mark. Good evening.
Yeah. So let me pop up that disclaimer, and then we'll get going.
I forgot about that. All right, guys, I got to do some cleaning of the house here real quick. All right. So just to give you guys this disclaimer, VA Claims Veterans Helping Veterans is not an accredited agent, VSO attorney, or entity recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs, and is not affiliated with the VA in any way. We do not assist veterans with the preparation, presentation, and prosecution of VA disability claims for VA benefits. This Q&A is solely for guidance and purposes and should not be considered as medical or legal advice. So we're just here, guys, to help everybody the best we can with our own knowledge and our own experiences. And, you know, we doing this twice a month. And so I guess we're ready to go.
We'll get going. Yep. So hopefully Ashley's out today doing mom stuff. She couldn't
She
be.
is.
So hopefully she'll be back with us next time. So I'll hop off here and we'll see you guys here in a little bit.
All right. Hey, I like that screen. All right. So we're going to get a question. All right. Is there any secondary conditions I can file if I'm 0% connected for scars? Well, we kind of talked about this because this was already up before the show started. Kind of need to know where the scars were associated to the primary disability for the scar. I mean, the scar is not going to have a secondary to it, but the disability that the scar is associated to could.
Possibly if the scar is over a joint, it may decrease the range of motion, but most surgeries don't. They try to avoid leaving the scar like that. So unless it was a scar from an accident.
Okay. Right, Jackie? I mean,
maybe if there was some underlying muscle damage.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, kind of need to know what the scar is associated to. So if you can update us and give us a little bit more in addition to that, then maybe we can help. I think that was from Marlon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Marlon, if you can give us some more information, that would be helpful. All right. Kevin Trotter, I submitted a claim for TDIU. Oh, here we go. I have an eye disease called keratoconus. I'm 90% now, and they're having me do another CMP exam, even though I already have one done 3 months ago. Is that fair? Yes. I mean, if the exam is obviously needed, there may be some conflicting medical opinions, Kevin. They maybe have missed something in the first 2. So, I mean,
that's what I would assume, that there was something they have to examine you to rectify or clarify.
Right. And yes, it's an eye disease. But if you're going, I know you're frustrated that you're going to another exam. I get it. But I've been to a couple myself. And again, it's the rater maybe has seen something missing, or he needs to clarify, or maybe the examiner the first time didn't, provide the information that was required. So, unfortunately,
probably something that he has to be seen in person, because if it was something they could have just asked, they're not going to order 2 exams back to back like that. There's a reason why. There was something insufficient that they have to physically look at you to figure out.
A retinal photograph, something.
He's filed for TDIU. Don't forget, whenever you file, Kevin, for TDIU, as most people know, is total disabled individual unemployability. So you are asking the VA to pay you at 100% for a disability that's preventing you from being gainfully employed. So if this eye disease is something that's preventing you from being gainfully employed, the VA is going to look at it. Kind of like when somebody files for PTSD, they look at it as well.
Or if you're filing for a combination of disabilities that you say you can't work with, they're going to look at each one of those.
Right. So that might be the kicker right there. Because you filed for TDIU, it's prompted the exam to see what's correlating with you filing for TDIU, if that makes sense. Oh my eyes. All right, the Crypto Dawn. I like that name. What happens if you click the button if you have no evidence? You have no. You mean the
decide my claim?
Decide my claim button, Crypto. I mean, I think that's the button he's asking.
The only button I can think of
that you're just telling, by clicking that, you're telling the VA you have nothing further to submit. I don't see that it really, speeds it up necessarily. It's just you're telling the VA you have nothing else. Yeah, you're just telling Crypto, you're just telling the VA you have nothing else to submit. and therefore you're ready, but hopefully you don't have anything else to submit. So make sure if you're going to push that button, you're done. But I've heard that it doesn't really, I don't know, really change anything in my opinion, because there's still things going on in the background. All you're just doing is letting the VA know you have nothing else to submit. I mean, that's pretty straightforward, I guess. All right, the cool guy. I like these names. Are claims slow due to the Pact Act? I had my CMP 3 months ago and it's still collecting stage. Jackie?
The Pact Act. Well, yeah. I mean, think about it. There's a lot of Pact Act claims. They just started working them in the beginning of January. Yes, there is a backlog because veterans started putting in Pact Act claims in like June and August, and they put them on hold until they were authorized to work them, which was January. So yeah, there's a little bit of a backlog dealing with them. So yes, that's going to slow down everything a little bit. The VA did vamp up their hiring and hired a lot of new personnel to assist with that backlog. So they're aware of it and they're going to try to knock it out as soon as possible. But they're being worked and with other claims. They're not exclusively being worked or being ignored. Everything's being worked right now, which just it may take a little bit longer.
So the Pact Act isn't like in a different area versus regular claims. They're all kind of together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just, and honestly, I think, Chris, can you pop that question back up? I think he said it was his CMP exam was 3 months ago. So cool guy, it also depends on what you filed for. Because if it's a pretty easy claim that the rater can decide relatively quickly, then it would be done. But if maybe it's something that requires a little bit more investigation, development more on it, that could be the reason why too. So just because you have your exam doesn't mean you're going to immediately get the results of that decision within, a week or two. Also, the other issue is depending on when the CMP examiner gets it back to the VA. So. All right. Next question. Mark, my referred condition for my Medboard got changed after I completed all my CMP exams. So my case is going back through the process. Will I have to redo all the exams I did late last year? Okay, well, I'm kind of curious why your referred condition was changed, because that's a DOD.
Misdiagnosis happens all the time.
Okay, because that's a DOD side, right? You got
right.
The Medboard referred condition, and then you file for all your VA disability.
Well, the way the Medboard works is now the DOD uses this, like the CMP exams through the VA to kind of help evaluate them. So surgery. There you go. Perfect. So they want to reevaluate you. It's probably going to only be new exams for the condition that they're saying you're not fit for military service for it. The rest of whatever the rest you claimed and stuff, they're not going to order those exams. It's only going to be the absolute issue at hand.
Right. It's just, this is just for Medboard purposes, it's just the referred condition. Right. And like Jackie said, you had surgery, so therefore they're probably having to reevaluate it. So that's why. Hey, Mary.
Hey, Mary.
Oh, we got Deanna. Hi, Deanna. TDIU timeline when they suggest you apply.
How long does it, if they suggest you apply, I think she's meaning how long does it take?
When the VA got it. So the VA is inviting her to apply for TDIU. Well, I mean, if they're inviting you, first of all, if they're inviting you, doesn't mean you have to apply, Deanna. So think about this. TDIU comes with income restrictions. So understand that while you're going to be paid at 100%, and it's interesting, we're getting these TDIU questions tonight because that's our next video Friday. Just because of that, your income restrictions, you're going to be not able to make past a certain threshold due to the federal poverty level. So just because you're invited to get to apply for TDIU doesn't mean you have to apply for it.
And it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it.
It doesn't right.
Doesn't mean that you're actually qualified to get it either. Like
Right.
cursory review may show that you meet the scheduler requirements, but like if you're working, I mean, you're not going to get it.
Right. So Deanna, if you're working, right.
And the VA may not be able to tell if you're employed right now, but the only thing it means when they invite a claim for TDIU is that there was something in the records that said that you may be unemployable, that you were unable to work due to your disabilities. It's not a promise of it being granted. It's just they have to consider it.
I was wondering why the VA sometimes does that, invites a veteran like in a decision, and you see that, you know,
because it's either a veteran or an examiner or the evidence of record said, hey, maybe not working due to service-connected disabilities, but it's not. Like you said, you don't have to apply, and you might not qualify, but
to her question, how long does it take? It's like a traditional claim.
Same as a regular claim. It's not.
Yep.
It's not special.
Nothing. You would just go through the whole process for TDIU, but again, you got to make sure, one, you need to apply for it, and two, should you apply for it, and three, is it something that, you know, like Jackie said, if you're working right now, Deanna, then the answer is no. Unless you're working marginal. Now, if you're only working a little bit and you're struggling to maintain gainful employment, then yes. But if you go over, if you're gainfully employed, and again, that's going to be my video, then no.
I think the income threshold this year went up to about 15 and some change. So if you're making over 15 grand a year, then you're above the federal poverty level, and you really wouldn't be eligible for that benefit.
Right.
And it's based on an individual. It's not based on dependents and the poverty level.
It's not. People think a family of four, I can make 35 and collect TDIU. No, just one person. And again, that'll be my video.
Just wanted to jump in here when we talk about the Pact Act. Laughing Guy here said, good news story. Filed a claim under the Pact Act back in August for bronchitis. It was approved on 23 January. Took him from 80 to 100, backdated to August for a nice bit of back pay. He said he did have a CMP exam in September.
So with the Pact Act claims, sorry, Chris. But
no, I was just saying that he filed an August CMP exam in September, got approved 23 January. So
yeah, with the Pact Act claims, they were really pushing to do, if any development could be done beforehand, whether that be ordering exams or requesting paperwork, stuff like that. They wanted it done, and then they were just holding it to be rated until they lift the restriction on January 1st. That's why they saw a lot of that.
And you know what, Jackie, quick question for you. This has been floating around too. Are the terminal getting to the front of the line? Do they have kind of that?
Yes, I believe they started rating terminal veterans in December. But yes, terminal veterans definitely get precedence over almost everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Congratulations on getting those service connection due to the Pact Act. That's great, and congratulations on the getting what you deserved, and that's pretty cool. I like that.
Hey, Jackie, can you speak to this one too? Another Pact Act.
I know within the last 3 weeks, I've had half a dozen claims reopened that were denied last year that fall under the Pact Act, and had one CMP exam already and another next week. That's happening, right, Jackie?
Is that something they do automatically, or how does that work?
They're automatic, and the raters and the BSRs are also looking for it. So the way it's working right now, you can either have a explicit claim where you're like, I'm claiming this condition and it's due to exposures or whatever, or when reviewing your claim, if a VSR or RVSR notices a condition that could be considered under the Pact Act, they're supposed to infer it, so imply, and then do the claim for it. And then VA is also going through, because they have this big like data analysts, or a program work in it, so they're seeing what veterans have been denied for Pact Act claims. So simple things would be like sinusitis, rhinitis, asthma, stuff like that, and they're seeing who is denied, and then reopening those claims automatically, because a lot of people who were denied are now eligible. Like, just for example, they took away, you had to have developed sinusitis, rhinitis, and asthma within 10 years of your qualifying period of service. So that a lot of people developed it later on and then they weren't getting service connected for it. Now the Pact Act removes that time requirement. So now a lot of veterans will benefit from that.
So I was wondering if like a lot of veterans that got denied years ago, if they would go looking at that or not. So that sounds like some of these veterans are getting.
How far back are they going, Jackie?
Yeah. If it can only be granted under the public law that the Pact Act is attached to, they can't go back any further than August 10th.
No, but how far back on denied claims?
Oh God!
Say if they were denied 5 years ago, are they looking at?
I'm honestly not sure how far back they're going.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, the VSRs and the raters are supposed to be actively looking for these things. So.
Okay, that's interesting. So, okay, well then that answers his question basically. Then yes, it's for him. He's like, they are. So I mean, that could be a good thing. I know a lot of veterans that are 100% P&T are freaking out right now. I've seen it across the boards because they're like, wait a minute, I didn't open up any claims. What's going on? And it sounds like that's kind of what's going on.
Well, VA has a right to reopen, so yeah. I would.
But I mean, even it could be a good thing too, because if it happens to be something that you could potentially die from, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it is. It's a great thing. It's a great thing they're seeking out the veterans. So. Yeah.
And yes, Daryl, we're live. Welcome. Hi, LG. All right. My uncle is a Vietnam Purple Heart veteran, and I was finally able to convince him to pursue compensation. Is there a way to have his stuff expedited, although he's not terminally ill? No.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, he's a Purple Heart recipient. Those don't get the priority processing that a hardship or terminally ill veteran may get, but it does get priority processing. So you don't have to do anything. They'll see the DD-214. Or if he's going to submit a claim, have them annotate like on the list of contentions, put Purple Heart recipient, they'll confirm it, and the claim will have expedited processing.
That's good to know. Mm-hmm. So make sure you're doing that. Was that for his uncle, he said? His uncle? Yes, his uncle. Yeah, so LG, take Jackie's advice and write on their Purple Heart, like she said, and the DD-214, and it gets sounds great. And that's awesome. I mean, they deserve it too. I mean, what they've been through. So, and as long as they've waited to get freaking disabilities. So that's awesome. All right. Next question. Brenda. Hi, Brenda. Welcome. Are any toxic exposures medical condition claims only for Pact Act? Are any toxic exposure medical?
No. It can be claimed before Pact Act.
Okay.
I'm not really sure what exactly you get. It really depends on what it is. So the Pact Act made it a lot easier to be service connected for a lot of these conditions, but toxic exposures have always been able to be granted by the VA with appropriate evidence.
Okay. Sorry, I clicked on that by accident, Chris. All right, Marine Corps Big B. Welcome.
Hey, administrator, let me do my job, okay?
Yeah, sorry. Whatever. I'm currently at 70%. I have an appeal in for my current claim, which will bring me to 90 to 100. Should I wait to file the next claim or go ahead and file now? I have about 8 more claims to file. Well, I'm going to give my take, and then I know Jackie's going to follow up right behind. And but first of all, I'm not sure how you know you're going to go from 70 to 90 to 100, but okay, that's an appeal. Appeals are over here, Big B. Claims are over here. So while you have an appeal, you can file new claims. That's not a problem. So, but regarding your appeal and whatever it is you think you're going to get, that's going to take time. That's under appeals, but you're more than welcome to go over here and file claims because that's not going to disrupt an appeal. So long, I think I'm right, Jackie, so long as the new claim isn't associated to the appeal. Am I right or wrong? I thought I heard something about that. Like you have
it doesn't have the same contention under two different lanes. So like you can't mistakenly put a new claim in and like have a condition that's already under consideration for something else. You can only claim everything once at a time.
Okay. So the answer is yes. While your appeal's over here, you can go ahead and file the claims. Just be sure you file all those claims at once. Don't kind of file one or two and then go ahead and file another one or two, because then they're going to get back to have to be combined. File all your claims at once. It's always beneficial. All right.
Good, LG. I'm glad to see that you put that. That's awesome. That will definitely help it be processed faster.
What did he say?
He said that he had put it on.
Good.
So that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. We got a lot of questions tonight. All right. Is that Luigi? All right. Hi, I'm 30% migraine secondary to tinnitus. What form I have to fill to increase my migraines to 50? Well, if you're filing for an increase, you just fill out the typical claim form, the VA 21-526EZ, and you're filing for an increase for your migraines. But keep in mind, you've got to prove that your migraines warrant the next and highest rating for migraines at 50%. So make sure you've got all your documentation to show that your migraines have worsened.
Make sure
And
you have
Blake.
a log. Make sure you have every medication that you've tried, how well they worked, how frequently they are, what the side effects are, whether or not you've had to miss work, employment, family events, all of that, social events.
Work. Yeah, taking time off.
What makes it worse, what makes it better, that you have to lay down for them, and how long you have to lay down. Does light make it worse? Does sound make it worse? All those things need to be put into a claim. Right, Jackie?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right. Mikey smiling always. Hello. So I've submitted claims for complete thyroidectomy, nexus, and independent medical opinion from my oncologist, with more likely than not the cancer manifested during service. What waiting schedule for this situation? Thank you. Blake, you want to take the medical part?
I guess the question would be, it says more likely than not manifested. How far out of service were they when it was diagnosed?
And what does he have now? Does he have
right now he probably, I'm guessing
probably hypo, right?
Hypo?
Thyroidectomy.
Thyroidism.
He's got hypothyroidism and is on
Levoxy or Synthroid, yeah.
Something.
Well, if that's the case, if it's hypothyroidism, you'll get, it's from the time you had your thyroid out. If you were symptomatic for hypothyroidism, it's from the date of diagnosis of hypothyroidism. You rate 30% for 6 months. After that, it's rated on residuals.
Yeah, and the only way that thyroid cancer would be rated is if it was metastatic and causing symptoms or causing issues now and under treatment, because removal of the thyroid is the cure for thyroid cancer. The hypothyroidism would be a residual of that.
Okay. Okay, next question. God, we got 16 questions. Whoa. Hi, Daryl. Welcome back. So can we still file for erectile dysfunction even if we are at 100% PNT? Yes, you can. Erectile dysfunction is a 0% rating with SMC-K.
Right, it's $128 a month.
$128 extra a month if you want to go ahead and. What do you need to file for erectile dysfunction? Like, what do you need? Personal statement, wife statement? Well, first of all, you need a diagnosis that you have ED. Second, what is it associated to, Daryl? Such as, is it due to your medication for your PTSD? Is it due to
diabetes?
Is it due to a nerve damage of the lower back? Prostate. So you need the diagnosis, one. What's it associated to that's service connected now? Yes, your wife can give a personal statement. Does filling SMC erectile dysfunction require an exam? It could. I've heard, now this is back and forth. Normally there's not a in-person exam. Like people think,
Well,
but I've been hearing there is.
there
Well-
can be, but it's typically a history taking, and there's nothing physically that a physician should have you do in an
I heard
exam.
a veteran had to drop his drawers.
Yeah, I
They
think
can, they can do an inspection
Right.
like that, but they're supposed to have like a chaperone and stuff.
Right.
It really depends on what your records say, because usually ED usually has some sort of etiology. There's something that's causing it. So they're going to want to look into that. And what I'm thinking, like with what you said, Stephanie, is a lot of times it can be associated with the prostate, which might be why he got examined, because
yeah.
you know, there might have been concerns there. So it's hard to really say if they're going to order Exam-A-Lot. Blake's
I
right.
wonder if it's based on what secondary you put it to. Like if you put it to your PTSD medication, you know, would there be, like what you're saying, there would be an in-person exam.
Right.
Prostate sounds like there would be more of a,
diabetes is not going to. But let me tell you, I will say this about erectile dysfunction. The number one cause of erectile dysfunction, smoking.
Really, I thought it was being fat.
Nope.
no.
It's smoking.
Being
Smoking.
fat. That's sleep apnea.
Smoking is a issue that affects small blood vessels, and when those things get blocked up, blood doesn't flow, and when blood doesn't flow, things don't fill out.
So just to recap, Daryl, if you're diagnosed with ED right now, you need to kind of ask your doctor what's causing the ED. Then you need to decide if it is a service-connected disability, is it worth filing your 100% PNT for the extra $128 a month?
Yeah, but just note, like, you know, they're looking for the etiology of it. So,
yeah.
Like, if you have a lot of problems in one area and then you're blaming your ED on something else just because it's service connected, it's not going to fly. They're going to see
Right.
it.
Right. And I'm
But
not
I mean,
sure-
your doctor, isn't the urologist going to tell you, well, all right, you have ED and what's causing it?
Yes,
Hopefully, yeah, because
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not supposed to happen.
they're going to tell you ways to improve it, ways to, you know.
Yep. Yep. So that's where you need to start, Daryl, is at least talk to your urologist if you don't have the diagnosis. And then, like I said, determine what's causing it and then go from there. All right.
All right, we got a follow on from Mike. Mike's smiling always. This was his original question.
Okay.
All right, that was his original question, and he had a follow-up statement here. Let's see here.
I know I won't get 100% temporary for the cancer as it was removed and radiation, but have permanent hypothyroidism with daily meds.
That would be your claim, would be hypothyroidism.
But I'm just going to piggyback on this, though. So, like, from the date you remove, so if you had thyroid cancer, you are going to, so you had your thyroid removed. So there is 6 months from there, right? That you could potentially be 100% if it was service related, or 6 months from the end of your treatment for radiation for it. But hypothyroidism is extremely difficult under the new rating schedule to get an actual
Rating for?
get something over 0%. So most likely what it's going to happen is, best case scenario, you're going to get 6 months after treatment for the 100%, and then it's going to drop down to 0 unless you have any residuals. But you often don't see residuals from hypothyroidism because Synthroid is an extremely effective, safe medication that most people tolerate. And because it controls everything so well, there's no residuals. So
remember, your disability is for how it affects you on a daily basis.
They removed it 1 month after diagnosis.
it would really depend on when you filed your claim and when your effective date was. You know,
And he would have to, the cause for the thyroidectomy would have to be service connected.
Absolutely.
So he would have to file for thyroid cancer as a service connection first, wouldn't he?
Right.
Yes.
Hypothyroidism wouldn't be, even if it was an Agent Orange like presumptive case and you had hypothyroidism, but
Right.
it's because you had thyroid cancer, you wouldn't be presumptively service connected for hypothyroidism because it wasn't a result of Agent Orange exposure. It was a result of
cancer.
thyroid cancer. Yeah.
Right. So he has to file for the cancer. So I hope Mikey Smiling always, I love that name, to understand the filing for the cancer first. Oh
Yeah,
my
with the
God.
hypothyroidism, it'll probably be 0%.
Sorry, guys. I got to stand up. Look, red skin.
You just want to show off your red skin shirt.
Yay. No, I'm just getting old. All right. See, fuel as exposure, not Pact Act related. Can I claim work related asthma, breathing issues started in service, but thought only Pact Act areas qualify and I haven't claimed it?
That falls under Pact Act, fuel exposure. It fell under Pact Act, and it fell under VA jurisdiction before Pact Act, if you could prove it.
Okay. So the answer is yes, you can file for it if you can prove it's due to service. That's pretty simple. Next. All right, mister, you're getting slow here.
Uh-oh.
Well, guys, right now we don't have any more questions.
Oh, well, I thought there were questions. Oh, no, right.
How about
They're all full
Laughing
stars.
Guy?
I thought we had questions. All right.
All right, Laughing Guy is saying this will help.
Okay. If you read the DBQs for your CMP exam prior to going, will help you out a lot knowing what they are going to ask and how to answer. And that's true, Laughing Guy. And we have every single DBQ listed in our Facebook group under the file section, which they are available also on the web. Now they took them away at one point, but they brought them back.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
guys, if you haven't joined our Facebook group, get on that. Under that file section, Steph has got almost every DBQ in there, I think.
I do.
And you should familiarize yourself with that, because a lot of times examiners won't ask you all of the questions, and you should be able to volunteer the information that they need.
Okay. I agree. And you should be familiarized with the CMP exam before you go too. And like Blake said, understanding it, what's going to be asked of you and things like that.
And what the level of disability for each rating is. What the criteria for each, for 10%, for 30%, for 50%. You should know what those are, and you should be able to almost know when you go in what your rating should be.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So while we're here, it's a good time to do some housekeeping again. Like we just said, join our Facebook group. Please make sure you answer the questions to get into the group. You can't just select join and not answer the questions. All right. I think there's 4 questions you have to answer.
Right.
Yeah, you'll get denied. All right. Yep. So just answer the questions. They're 4 simple questions. Answer those, and there's a wealth of information on that Facebook page. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe. You'll get all the updates. Especially for this Friday, we're going to have a video coming out on TDIU. All right. So if you subscribe and hit the subscribe button there, you'll get all the updates when all our new videos and shorts come out. And sorry, my computer's lagging here. If we didn't answer a question or you have more questions, please email us at VACVHV@gmail.com. We can maybe get a more elaborate answer, get some more details, or maybe even set you up with a consult with a one-on-one with Steph to really get down and get the answer to your question.
And I'm going to step in here for a second on this, because we've had lately a little bit of abuse of our help. I've gotten a lot of people. We love to help you guys. Don't get me wrong. All right. This is what we're here for, but we also have lives and we also have things going on. We're trying to help you guys a lot. And so if we give you some advice, please take it and go with it, because we're giving you the advice that we've either researched on or all of us have talked about to try to give you that feedback to that. Just so you know, going to us and then going to the group, that's great. That's not a problem. But there's some people where we're having, hours upon hours upon hours, and we,
Sometimes it feels like you're just asking us so that we'll say, yeah, you're right. Do what you want to.
Or we're not giving you the answer and then you're going into the group to get the answers. But like I said, email us with your questions. We're happy to answer them, but please understand that behind the scenes, we are all working on it together. I'm sending that email to Blake and Jackie and Fly Eagles Fly. Way to break up way to break it up there, bud. But anyways, just know that we are all talking together before I respond back, or sometimes Jackie or Blake will take it and respond back to you guys. That's what we're here for. That's all we want to do is help you guys. But just remember, we're human too, and we have lives, and 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock messages and stuff. But anyway,
yeah, I don't get any sleep because all my phones are going bing, 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 bing,
bing, bing, bing, bing. But anyways, we got more questions, or?
Yeah, Brenda's got one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Brenda, is the Pact Act only for veterans that served in specific years only? Well, the Pact Act is.
Doesn't Camp Lejeune fall under?
No. Camp Lejeune does fall under parts of the Pact Act, but no, there's not specific years. Nope.
Camp Lejeune has the Justice Act that was passed through the Pact Act bill that now allows the veterans, people, even other people that work there.
Right.
Well, Pact Act includes Camp Lejeune, Agent Orange, Gulf War exposures, occupational exposures, environmental exposures. No, there's no years. Unless
no specific years.
Unless it's for you had to have served in the Persian Gulf between this day and this date. You had to serve in Vietnam between this date and this date. There's really, unless it's specified like that, there's no specific years.
Yeah. And Dan, I want to give a shout out to Daniel. He says, we've given him great advice. I know, Daniel, I'm rooting for you. And he's waiting with the Board of Appeals and stuff. So be sure to reach out to me on Daniel and get back to me on an update on that, because I'm really rooting for you and the wife. So I know you've been through a lot.
Yeah, real quickly, I did post a video right there for the Pact Act. I hyperlinked it there for our video. It has a lot of the dates and times and where and stuff like that if you have any specific questions about that. And
Is that the one we did?
That's the one we did.
Just know that some things have been updated now.
Okay, so we need to update the video.
That video was put out. Yeah.
No, Chris, hold on. Chris, are you talking about the video I put together or the live we did with Jackie?
No, the video that we created.
Okay, good.
I created.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the link, and that's the link in the comments is the video that we created for the Pact Act.
Got it. Okay.
All right, and then I really got to give Laughing Guy. I got to give him shouts out here. This guy, he's really seeming to help a lot. He drives veterans up to the VA for their appointments. Most have no idea when they have a CMP exam what they will be asked. I download them to the DBQ for their CMP, and they are amazed. So Laughing Guy's really trying to get out there and help, which is awesome. Laughing Guy, thank you. Give you a shout out. That's awesome.
That's awesome. And I know we got some more questions over there, but I want to give a shout out to Daniel. Daniel, February 11th. So it sounds like you've got your date again with the judge. So fingers crossed. We can talk too one-on-one for sure, because he was the one, Jackie, just so you know, that he's been fighting it, and he never had any CMP exams, and they were more things like the knees and the hips and stuff like that. Well, he went to the judge, and his rep didn't really know what to say. And we said that they didn't do him service by not giving him the CMP exams.
Yep.
Well, his rep didn't ask for exams. So the judge has given him 30 days to provide evidence. And so he's scary. And so I was like, why didn't he get exams? So you and I can talk about this off this and maybe give him some advice for that February 11th. Date. All right. B. Foster. Do raters give any weight to reputable medical literature linking secondary conditions to primary conditions if I submit the literature, or does it need to come from a doctor? Blake, Jackie, you want to? I know what Jackie's going to be on the rating side. Blake, on the
you can submit it yourself. You can do the research yourself and submit it. Now, what you want to know is what is your definition of reputable? If it comes from an American college of something like gynecology or otolaryngology, then yeah, it's probably pretty reputable. If it has the name AMA on it, it's reputable. The American Medical Association.
Today, somebody thought that was the Appeals Modernization Act.
Well,
That's
it
why-
is. What are you
could
talking
be.
about?
It is.
It is.
But
It could be.
that's why I asked Blake today. This is what goes on behind the scenes, guys. I screenshot and go, look, it says AMA. I'm thinking Appeals Modernization Act. Medical.
I'm thinking American Medical Association. So,
But it made sense. You were correct.
Yeah, with what Blake said, yes, the raters will look at it, but most importantly, when they're sending out medical exams and medical opinions, if you submit that literature, they're supposed to consider it in providing an opinion to the VA. So they have to address it. Like if you're opening a theory of service connection for sleep apnea due to your little toe hurting, then you have medical literature that supports that, then yeah, the examiner is supposed to provide an opinion saying why they disagree or agree with the literature. But yes, the literature is considered. And so are doctor statements, even if they're not like proper for VA to use for as the end all for it, and they have to send it for another medical opinion, they're still supposed to consider what the doctors say.
now I don't know if the raters actually sit and read those articles,
I'm pretty sure they don't.
but you should read it before you submit it, because in those studies there are inclusion and exclusion criteria, and if you fit the exclusion criteria and you're submitting a report that says, well, this backs me up, no, it doesn't.
Right. And I mean, like, you know, like it's ridiculous that anybody could think they could submit 60 pages of medical literature and think somebody has the time to sit there.
Right.
But between like the abstract and the titles and everything, you get the gist.
Right.
But I mean, if you were going to submit it, it might be helpful to highlight the parts that are applicable to your own
That's what I was
case.
gonna say. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I think the literature is more beneficial, like when it goes to like an examiner for opinion or whatever.
So the answer to the question is yes, you can submit it.
Yeah.
And you are your own best advocate too. I go back to this all the time.
Absolutely.
Submitting your statement in support of your claim on the VA 21-4138, you know, is always the best route to do, because you're giving the rater an insight from your perspective, what's going on. And a lot of times that's even better than these nexus letters that are out there that doctors are writing that don't know you. You've paid them to write something and it's worthless. I mean, I can't.
And they're just
really
cutting and
is.
pasting it together.
It
So
really
many
is worthless.
veterans come to me and like, oh, I paid all this money and it, you know, they told me it was going to be this and it was going to be a nexus and it was the nexus, but it's not worth it. So
Just know if you pay for that stuff, they're not granting based on that doctor's opinion. They're granting based on another doctor's opinion, and that just happened to open a theory, which you can do by yourself for $0.
Yeah. All right. Got another question. LG. Had x-rays completed that showed mild degenerative changes, mild retrolysis. I have been prescribed gabapentin for the burning pain in my right leg. I have a TENS unit also. Can this be claimed?
That would be radiculopathy.
Yeah.
That would be a radicular change. The mild degenerative changes in your vertebra are shown by x-ray are not necessarily a disabling event. You would need probably, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Jackie, probably an MRI to show some type of nerve impingement, possibly. And a range of motion testing also for it to get a percentage out of the issue with the vertebral disc. However, the radiculopathy could be rated as an issue secondary to that.
The EMG test is what's typically done.
No, it's not.
Not for this.
No, not at all.
No.
Oh, not for this at all.
Not for.
No, not for usually. Well, if it's to your back, then they're going to Like there's tests they do muscle strength testing, sensory testing, straight leg testing, and
Hey, Chris, jump in here.
an EMG is not ordinarily ordered unless it involves multiple nerves of the lower extremity.
I'm going to ask you because you're rated for the upper, and I know you had the lower. Didn't you have an EMG test?
They had an EMG test for my lower extremities because I had tingling in my legs.
Well, that's just that would
That's
just
where I got
be
it.
right. That would an EMG just will kind of let us know at what level the issue is coming from.
Right.
But that was my whole point, is that's where I got it from, because I remember him going to one of those kind of
I mean,
tests.
they can do one, but they don't often do one. Can you imagine doing an EMG?
Yeah.
for every
And
veteran?
if you've ever had an EMG, you don't want one.
No, they're awful. You do not want one. Do not go
Right.
get one. 10-10 down.
I think all of us have had them.
Awful.
Oh. Oh, yeah, that was not fun. All right, next question. Eating with Nay. How is fibromyalgia typically evaluated in a CMP exam? I've been diagnosed with chronic pain syndrome, but I want to know if I will be diagnosed for fibromyalgia, to which I think I have.
Two different diagnoses.
And I'm rated for fibro.
So two different diagnoses: chronic pain syndrome, fibromyalgia are not the same. Fibromyalgia has very specific criteria it needs to be needs to meet to be diagnosed under the VA. I'm not saying it wouldn't be, or it could be a correction of previous diagnosis. I'm just saying those are two.
Well, from my own personal experience, I'm going to give it on fibro. So the way I got to fibro was exclusionary.
Right.
And
That's
basically
where
I had
everybody gets there.
Yeah, basically I had an ANA titer test. It's not your typical blood test, but it is a blood test for autoimmune. I tested positive for autoimmune. I got sent to the RA doctor. The RA doctor excluded lupus, excluded RA for me, and came to the conclusion with other tests for me for fibro. So
there's no blood test for fibro though. A
No.
positive ANA is not indicative of diagnosis.
No, what I'm saying is the way I got to is the ANA test showed that I had an autoimmune, so they wanted me to go see if I had like lupus,
rule it
autoimmune
all out,
disease.
yeah.
They ruled it out. And Blake, I know you're going to jump in here with your medical knowledge, but I'm just going based on what I did. That's how I got the stepping, and it became an exclusionary diagnosis.
It really is, yeah.
And for a long time, and still in some circles medically, fibromyalgia is considered what a trash can diagnosis, meaning we can't figure out what it is exactly, so we'll call it this. And there is a school of thought out there that if you stay with a patient long enough, and if you continue to that you diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and you continue to test and continue to look into it, then eventually it ends up in the RA family, in the rheumatoid arthritis family.
Yeah.
So back to eating with Nay, as Jackie said, the chronic pain syndrome is completely separate from the fibro. And I'm thinking you're wanting to, according to his question, he's trying to figure out how to file. But first of all, I think I've been diagnosed with okay, so he's been diagnosed with the chronic pain syndrome, but I want to know if I will be diagnosed. So again, you've been diagnosed with chronic pain syndrome, nothing to do. You'd have to go another route on the fibro to see what
there are specific criteria for fibro, including number of tender points at certain places.
Yep.
You know,
that's what the RA doctor did.
Chronic pain syndrome, or sometimes it used to be called reflex sympathetic dystrophy, can be only in a certain area. Just your left arm can hurt all the time, and that's not fibro. Fibro is a whole body experience.
Yeah.
Hey,
Right.
Chris, can you pop up LGs about the Eagle hoodie? Give that to Blake.
You do the caw Eagle.
The caw, yeah.
No.
See it, Chris?
This is
Do you see
USMC Big B. I want to see.
I
we
had
just
an
talk about
EMG
the
test
EMG
for my
test.
legs, and that's one of the ratings I'm expecting. The VA has been arguing it's caused from diabetic neuropathy and not from my back condition.
Well,
Do you have diabetes? Because it's more likely
it's more likely from diabetes than it is,
diabetes in your back. So yeah.
particularly if
I
your
mean,
diabetes. There are some studies that show it doesn't have anything to do with control, but the old school of thought is that if your diabetes has been out of control for the worse it is, the more likely you are to end up with the neuropathy.
Yep.
absolutely. And the burden of proof is
So do you have diabetes? Can you just pop in Big B and say yes or no and let us know?
well,
And
if you say he has
do you,
diabetic neuropathy, yeah.
and do you
There
know
it is.
if your EMG was abnormal or not? Because that will differentiate whether or not this is diabetic related or coming from a specific level in your back.
There it is, Blake.
Yeah.
Well, if
I
you
have
don't
diabetes.
file your claim while you have the radiculopathy, I mean, like, can you really blame them on blaming it on the diabetes? Because that's the more likely
Right.
etiology.
Like I said, it is more likely.
You might have to have the EMG to
Yeah, if the
rule that
EMG,
out.
if the EMG comes back and says, you know, there is an issue with L3, L4, and it's in a specific area, this is why they do the EMG all over the leg, because each one of those levels supplies nerve sensations to different parts of the foot and leg.
So I'm assuming by the VA arguing, there must be something that's come back, like a decision or something that's come, because he's saying the VA is arguing. I don't know if you're referring to the VA on the healthcare side or the VA on the benefit side.
Well, you have to remember too, like, so doctors outside the VA, like, you don't really have, outside of an endocrinologist or your primary care, you don't have a lot of doctors dealing with diabetes. At the VA, you have a lot of doctors who always deal with diabetes, especially the examiner. So, you know, their stuff.
So he's saying every doctor I've talked to the outside, the VA says it's very clear from my back. I have disc and cervical, thoracic, and lumbar that are degenerative.
Well,
they denied my neuropathy for almost 20 years.
The only ones that are going to affect your legs are your lumbars. That's just the way the wiring goes.
That's not true.
No.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. We got a battle here.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Well, I don't want to argue with the doctor, but I disagree, like, based on all the medical stuff I've seen.
So I guess if I'm under, hold on, Chris, take that question down for a second for Big B. So he's going to say, let me explain. So from my understanding, from what he's trying to say is he hasn't been able to get the neuropathy service connected.
Well, obviously his diabetes isn't service connected. This would be an issue.
Right. So and that sounds like what the VA is trying to say. It's due to his diabetes, which is not service connected.
Right.
He says, my neuropathy started as an itch inside my groin radiating into my feet that slowly went numb and itching.
Okay, there you go. It's radiating from your spine to your feet, right? So that's your neuropathy. So what about your radiculopathy? It goes from your spine to your feet, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the more likely etiology? Depending on what your MRI and your spine x-rays and all that stuff look like. I mean.
And if there's a dermatomal pattern versus the whole leg.
Yeah.
Because the dermatomes, those come directly from the different sections of the spine.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yep.
I mean, in this situation, if you've been being denied so long, I don't really see a way around it unless you got like an EMG to really pinpoint.
Well, he did say he has an EMG and that's what he's relying on when he says he knows he's going to go up in his rating.
Well, nobody knows if they're going to go up or down in their rating. So unless if you're a fortune teller, I would really love the Powerball tickets for the next round because I'm really sick.
I bought the winning ticket today.
I'm really sick of working.
Well, and his original question his original one was, I had an EMG test for the legs. That's one of the ratings I'm expecting.
Okay.
What you expect and what you get, but you know,
you don't know what the EMG said. So
yeah, it's going to be a tough one, especially if they're associating it with the diabetes versus.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Claim denied in 2000 for not having any incident. Supplemental claim in 2019 denied, same reason. Found out in claim file, also known as C file 2021, they never reviewed the in-service medical records. Is that a VA error?
If the C file was available with that evidence in 2000, then yes, it would be a clear and unmistakable error. If the C file wasn't obtained by the VA,
No, wait. The C file is your claim file. He's saying his in-service medical records were never reviewed. Pop that question back up, Chris.
maybe I read that differently.
Yeah.
Not having an incident. So you did.
Found out they never reviewed the in-service medical records. So
Okay,
he's
well,
saying they never read his in-service medical records in the 2000 decision.
Okay, so if the records were never available to VA to review, then no. But if the records were available to VA to review and they missed it, then it could be a clear and unmistakable error.
Which is a Q. But
And you could,
how do you prove that they had your medical in-service records from 2000? All right.
well, they should be a record.
But wouldn't that be on the decision letter under the evidence that was used?
Yeah, and they can request a copy of their C file, which will have everything.
Well, he has his C file. So back to that, to his question, he has a C file. He's saying they never reviewed his in-service. So my question to him is, what's making him suspect that the VA never read his in-service records? Because in a decision, on the decision, it always states the evidence used to make that decision, and it will include STRs, service treatment records. It will include this. They weren't listed as evidence. Okay, so if you're in,
the VA had them, then it would be a Q. If the VA did not have them and obtained them at a different time, then no, because the evidence at the time did not support a decision that was favorable to you.
So that's what you have to understand and break down is, if the in-service medical records were available at that time for that claim, then that is definitely a clear and unmistakable error. If they were not available at that time, then it is not.
Is that something you should submit? You should have submitted with your claim? Isn't that part of what you submit is your in-service records to say, here, I had this?
Well, not everybody has their in-service records.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
I'm just saying that normally you'd want to submit that
But
with
it's
a copy
up to
of.
But doesn't the VA go out there and get those for you?
You have a duty to assist, but it's
Right.
not.
Right. But I'm saying you're your own best advocate, right?
Yeah.
Listen, the VA always requests the service treatment records, the personnel records, and the DD-214s. Sometimes they're incomplete for whatever reason. Sometimes they re-request them, and years down the road, NPRC gets records and they're able to like associate the new ones with the file. But the fact of the matter is, what the point is at this point is, did VA have those records or not?
And that's the main, and we've got to move on because we're running out of time, and I know we've got other questions.
I guess my question is, though, if they have it now, will it get backdated to 2000?
No.
If it's a Q, it could be.
Q. If the medical records were available at the time he filed in 2000 and they did not review them, then that's a Q.
So you could file for a Q on a 526, and you can request a Q one time on each condition.
Can't hurt.
Put that you believe a clear and unmistakable error was put because the VA had these records showing da 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 da. But you need to be specific with the records that VA had because they're going to have to confirm it.
You get one shot. Mikey's smiling always. You get one shot on a Q.
It can't hurt.
But my advice would be to speak to somebody with a little bit more background knowledge to file the Q, because there's one shot. Make sure you've got what you need to state and appeal and file that Q, because it's a one shot.
Prove that they had your record in 2000 and they didn't review it.
Right. Okay. I don't want to bug and ask any stupid questions. No questions are stupid. But how do I talk with my husband so that he will understand he should file for his medical issues that could be service connected? Well, you can't make anybody. It's like you can't make a horse. You can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink, right? If he doesn't want to file for them, you can't force him. I understand you want him to file for these. I mean, depending on what you're trying to get him to file for, I mean, you could explain, look, you know, if God forbid you were to pass and it was due to this and it's service connected, at least I would get the DIC, which is the death indemnity compensation. Or, hey, if you got rated, you could get medical treatment and things like that. But anybody else got some? I mean,
You could talk to his physician about talking to him. If it's a something physical, what I see most often on these kind of cases is that this is a mental health issue and they don't want to file because they don't want to admit that they have a problem.
And a lot of veterans are like, oh, I'm fine, I'm
good.
good.
Diagnosis for that.
Where somebody needs it more, but
right. I mean, you really can't force his hand. If he doesn't want to file, he doesn't want to file. But
the thing you do is have him maybe talk to some other veterans, like either at the VA, maybe a VFW, American Legion, like go to maybe a veterans club, have a friend that he trusts talk to him, something that will kind of speak to his heart.
Yeah, Brenda, you can reach out to me too. I'm more than willing to. William, quick question. I was to die in my back condition, DDD, secondary to both knees. I had an IMO, which is an independent medical opinion, and even did an HLR. I now got a second IMO and resubmitted a supplemental claim. What do you guys think? Thanks.
I think your medical opinions were insufficient, so they sent it back to a VA examiner who did not share the same sentiments.
And then did the HLR. HLR got denied.
But there's no guarantee that your HLR was based on that. And HLR, like a duty to assist error, could be based on anything. They could have forgotten to upload your VA treatment records, and that would trigger a duty to assist. So, I mean, honestly, unless you can say specifically what they return the claim for the duty to assist error, it's really hard to speculate.
Well, and then the current IMO that's now superseding the other IMO, is that from one, a different doctor, or two, the same doctor rebutting or refute? I don't know. Because, you know, sometimes you have an IMO and then they get denied. And then so the doctor will give another same doctor. So I'm curious if it's the same doctor that he's filing this new IMO under this supplemental for the new evidence. Because if you're just going out there to buy another, oh, here I go again, buy another IMO from another doctor, I'm not really sure, you know. And without seeing to be honest, without seeing the first denial and kind of seeing the history, I really wouldn't really know. If you want to send that to us, redacting your personal information, and send it to the email you see there on the screen. Send everything to us, including the IMO, redacting personal information. I'll shoot it over to Jackie and Blake, and we'll give you a good assessment on that. That's probably the best way to answer that one. And Chris, I saw something from Big B about his back. I'm just going to read it. He said, well, I had filed a claim almost 20 years ago on my back. My lawyer says it'll be 90 to 100%. So his lawyer's
Your lawyer's a liar and dumb. Sorry to
I don't like it when lawyers say that. That irks me because they can't guarantee anything. Anyways, next question. Devil Dog. I'm 100% for PTSD alone, and I'm still working. I've heard you can, and I've heard you can't work, which is true. Yes, you can work. If you're rated solely for 100% PTSD, technically you're total for social and occupational impairments.
Yeah, I would be very careful about anything you file from now on, because if you are totally impaired socially and occupationally, you're not working. So I would tread so carefully with that one. Are you really 100% disabled if you can work? I mean, that's just the way the VA looks at it.
Well, that's mental health alone. He's got that.
Yeah, mental health 100% is really hard to get. So
yeah,
the fact that you're working tells me that you probably aren't really, you probably rate about a 70% for it.
But the answer is yes, you can work.
You can work, but if it's gainful employment, I would just leave it alone and not touch anything.
Question to Blake. I had an EMG done a couple months ago at the VA for lower back and legs, checking for neuropathy because I'm on blood thinners. They wouldn't do the lower leg. They wouldn't do the lower back area.
Right. It's because it's a lot of needle sticks and there's potential to bleed quite a bit. Where do you go from there? You discuss this with the individual or the provider who has you on blood thinners and the reason that you're on blood thinners. And is it depending on what the blood thinner that you're on, can you be off of it for 5 to 7 days, just like we would do prior to surgery? Have the test done and then get back on them. So, and if you're, depends on the reason that you're on the blood thinners. Are you on the blood thinners because you have AFib? Are you on the blood thinners because you had a clot somewhere, like your lungs? And what was the cause of that? All of this stuff would be relevant and something you need to talk with the individual who's, whether it's a cardiologist or your primary care, who's prescribing your blood thinners, and can you come off long enough to have the test to find out, and discuss it with the individual that ordered the testing and how important it is or necessary it is for that test to get whatever diagnosis they're looking for. Does that make sense?
So I clotted during liver transplant, so I've been on thinners since then.
How long ago was the transplant? And like I said, I would discuss that with your liver specialist and basically your whole care team.
Yeah.
To see and let them coordinate it. Hopefully they're all in the same hospital and they can all discuss it and decide whether or not it's okay for you to go off those blood thinners for a short period of time to get a
And
test.
if not, Mary, they don't have to do an EMG. They can do a sensory test, reflex exam, muscle strength test, straight leg testing. Like there's other to determine if you have radiculopathies in your lower extremities outside of EMG testing.
So I got a question here from Daryl. Let's show it. Once you're 100% PNT, can one ever get reduced? A couple of us were in a meeting and this question came up. Yes, the answer is yes. You're only protected under the protected rule ratings of 5, 10, and 20 years. There is also the reexamination at 55 years, where if you are at 55 years of age, you will not get reexamined so long as you don't file new claims. So the answer is yes, you could get reduced. 100% PNT just means all your disabilities are static, that they do not require any future exams. Go on and live life. However, like Jackie has said, the VA has the right to open up and look. Things happen. Sometimes audits, I don't know, things happen and things come up, and veterans have been proposed reductions. Veterans have filed claims when they're 100% PNT. Just like Daryl, you want to file for ED, you go ahead and file for that ED. And let's say the VA sees something and says, wait a minute, we need to look at that.
And just to throw it out there, VA doesn't always just find errors and take
No,
it
they don't.
away. They also find errors and giveth.
They give it. Yes,
errors it's just you hear the negative way more than the positive because people complain when it negatively affects them. I just want to throw that out
But
there.
to answer your question, the answer is yes. The only time you're protected is under the protected rule ratings. And this is why I tell everybody to get your rating code sheet that is located within your C file, also known as your claim file. I have videos on that on my YouTube channel on how to obtain your claim file and how to obtain your rating code sheet. That rating code sheet, in my opinion, is a very important document because it shows your disability, the percentage, when you were rated, and whether it's static or whether it has a future exam.
So I have a question for you then, Jackie. What if you're 100% PNT and they start looking around for this Pact Act stuff and they start opening up claims based on what they think could be associated to the Pact Act?
So if it doesn't have anything to do with the currently service-connected conditions, then you're probably fine. They're only going to reopen conditions that you are most likely denied for Pact Act for. It's only going to be an issue if it ties into something you're currently service-connected for.
Okay.
Excellent.
And
I think we have
LG,
we're going to get one more question here.
can you explain the 5-year rule, or do you have a video on it? Just curious, because I've been receiving compensation since 2015 and currently in Medboard IDS process. Thank you. Well, first of all, I have a post in the Facebook group. It's lengthy. It talks about the protected rule ratings and everything. So LG, are you in our Facebook group? If so, let me know your name. Message me somehow. I'll tag you in it so you can read it at length. But Jackie, do you know off the top of your head, without me pulling up the 5-year, once you pass 5 years? Because he's close to 10.
Yeah.
I can pull it up real quick, but I think that
right here.
all right.
So the findings and so a disability is established as static after the findings and symptoms have persisted without material improvement for a period of 5 years. That's when it's supposed to be static. So the VA, like a ways ago, they were starting to try to get away from doing so many exams, and they found that the VA was ordering too many exams. So they started labeling a lot more stuff as static. So basically almost anything that was rated up to like 20-30% would just be automatically labeled static with no future exams. But now the VA is starting to come back from that a little bit. So if you saw, like, if they saw like some improvement within the 5 years, they could potentially like order an exam. I don't think they're really all on the same page yet.
Well, the other thing to further confuse LG too is each time that disability gets a new rating increase, let's say you're 30 and you go to 50,
It starts
30
over again.
Right. The clock starts over for the 50, but the clock is still there at the 30. So let's say you got rated in 2010 at 30. You file for an increase in 2015 and you go to 50. The 50 is now at 2015, but the 30 is still at 2010. So there's a lot of layers to this. And again, LG, if you want to go ahead and send me a message, let me know your name. I'm more than happy to tag you into the post. It's very lengthy, but it's very self-explanatory.
I have a question about that also for my own benefit. How has LG been receiving compensation since 2015 and just now in a med board process?
Probably a reservist.
Reservist is what I was going to say too.
Okay.
Yeah, because he couldn't be active duty.
No way.
He has to be a reservist. And I never understood that anyways. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, reservists are a whole nother topic, honestly.
So are we all done with questions?
Yeah, guys, we are
Okay.
almost out of time here. So
I just
guys, everyone who's still on, this is our Facebook page. Like I said, go and like it. Answer the questions, please. Please, there's 4 questions I think you have to ask. There's a ton of information on here. All right.
And I just want to remind everybody to go ahead and check out the YouTube channel, especially what we talked about earlier in the evening about getting your claim and appeal letters now online through va.gov. You can now access your own. That's pretty good information. And again, you can be your own gatekeeper. So, yeah. So we're done.
Our next video is on Friday. We're going to drop an IU TDIU on Friday, so be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
And if our administrative moderators didn't answer your question, or you have more questions or something, hit us up on email, and we'll definitely pass it around and get you the right answer.
And real quick, Brenda, I know you were asking about, she was the one saying about her husband, trying to get her husband to push him to do disabilities. I think somewhere in the thread, she was talking about he had lung issues or something like that.
Correct.
So again, Brenda, just have him reach out. If you want to have him reach out, reach out to me in that email and we can talk and see. But, he's ultimately going to make the decision as the veteran to file. So, all right, guys. Well, it's been a blast. We'll be back after the Super Bowl to see how it all happened. And
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs, right?
go Chiefs, man, right?
Or something.
Yeah, something, whatever Jackie said.
Tom Brady is still number one news, man. Tom
Hey,
Brady.
Brady just had to go because he wasn't and retire today because he wasn't getting any attention this time of year.
Maybe he just wanted to try to get a supermodel wife back.
Oh,
And
well,
that could be.
Yeah,
All right,
whatever.
guys. Thanks for joining
good
us.
night, guys.
Everyone have a good evening. All right.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.